Welcome to RainbowSoul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and LeKross's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to RainbowSoul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else RainbowSoul is offered on our website at RainbowSoul.show.
Hi there, I'm Hollis, and welcome to RainbowSoul Soulstrology Forecast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. And I'm Hollis Taylor, so I'm one of the astrologers here today that will hopefully help you interpret the messages from the stars. So you can get readings from me, private readings for your natal chart and transits and synastry and even death charts for somebody that's already passed, if you need to more deeply understand their death. And you can find that all on my website, which is in the description. And
hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. I'm an artist and author, astrologer, musician. Delighted to be here. You can learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com.
I'm LeKross, and I am the creator of A Fool's Journey Color Journal. Also have a podcast, We Are Semi, talking about the sacredness and the different types of medicine. And you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Spotify.
Fantastic. Beautiful. I'm looking forward to more of your podcast. So maybe we can cross over on the Divine Androgen and meet up and speak and help each other out. Yeah, and by the way, there's also an astrology course on my website that Bright Hawk and I taught for anyone that's just looking for the foundations, sort of like Astrology 101 or a masterclass. When I say a masterclass, I mean like just mastering the basics of Western astrology, which would be like, you know, just understanding the planets and the zodiac and aspects and what those mean and how to look at your chart. By the time you're done that course, it comes with 2 coaching sessions privately with me so I can answer your questions and help you understand things within your chart. By the time you're done that class, you'll be able to read your own chart, and this forecast will make so much more sense. Okay, just saying. I've had that feedback from a couple of people that have taken the course. They're like, now your forecast is like, oh, I know what it means that Jupiter's moving into Gemini. That's a big deal. Okay, so my friends, I want to invite you to take this moment to get centered. As I center myself, I encourage you to put your feet flat on the floor. If you can, close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And take this moment to imagine yourself outside under the stars. And to feel the stars and the energies of the universe coming down for you, feeling the universe's vastness and largeness above you. how the stars seem to go on forever. And the planets are so far away, they're just little dots amongst the stars. And from the sky appears to be a triangle. A very large blue triangle. And as this triangle gets closer to you and kind of zooms into you, you recognize the sacredness of this sacred symbol. The sacred number 3 with 3 points, 3 lines. And the sacred triangle speaks to you and reminds you that it is a trine. That this is the aspect that the planets sometimes have with each other. When planets are communicating with each other, when they're at a certain angle that represents our sacred geometry in the sky, known as an aspect, it changes them, it shifts them, just like when you have a conversation with someone else. And when those conversations go really well, those conversations can shift the energy for you and help you find your path or become more clear on a subject. And that's exactly what the triangle or the trine is doing for you in astrology. And when the planets move into that sacred symbol, they communicate with ease, with simplicity and clarity. And it just sort of happens without any effort on your behalf. And when the planets communicate in that way, it sends a blessing down to the earth. And when 3 planets, the sacred number 3, when 3 points in the sky are in that perfect triangle together, they create what we call a grand trine. You can imagine that huge blue triangle drawing lines between each point in the sky. The planets and the nodes. And when it is a grand trine, they are in the same element. This week, there's a grand trine in air, stimulating our thoughts, bringing clarity to our mental activity, helping to connect our thoughts and our bodies, bringing ease and clarity with communication and thinking and higher learning. And as that sacred triangle reflects itself down onto earth, it reminds us that many things happen with ease, without any effort put forth by us. They just happen And when those easy things happen, we can use that opportunity to be grateful. Instead of overlooking them, we can find gratitude. Gratitude in our hearts for all the things that come with ease, that happen easily, with no effort. Feel that gratitude in your heart. Feel that thankfulness grow within you. Feeling grateful for what happens without too much trouble. Feeling grateful for what goes easy. As that happens, the trine puts itself back up into the sky, and that sacred triangle slowly backs up into the sky from you, leaving you with a sense of gratitude for all the things that just happen. Take a moment to be grateful for your heartbeat that just happens without your thoughts, your breath, your body. Be grateful for those easy conversations, those easy friendships, the easy love in your life, and anything else that you can think of that's been easy for you. Find gratitude in this moment for those things. And as we come back into our bodies, we can smile with the sense of gratitude and come back into our bodies, feeling our feet on the floor, our bottoms on the seat. You can wiggle your fingers and open your eyes and come back into the here and now. Well done, Bright Hawk. Thanks. It's beautiful music.
Thank you.
Very mesmerizing. Meditative. All right, my friends. I hope that you, that's the first time I've done a meditation on an aspect, honestly. Trying to explain aspects. Geometry is not exactly something you meditate on usually, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that does. I mean, you know, maybe some nerd probably does.
Well, look at the shirt you're wearing. Sacred geometric symbols are all around us.
I know.
Triangles, circles, squares. There's nothing new here. We've been playing with blocks and puzzles like that since we were children, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, what I find fascinating is that you can find a lot of the sacred symbols like in things like flowers and in the middle of a stone and things like that. Yeah, so sacred geometry is really fascinating, and it seems to be in everything. So, including in the human body. So, it's kind of interesting, and I think a lot of it stems from Kabbalah, LeKross.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from what I understand, I don't really know a whole lot about Kabbalah or anything, but it's just something I learned. So,
the tree of life.
Absolutely. Yeah,
big part of all the mystery schools teachings.
Right. That's from what I understand. It's kind of important. All right. So let's take a look at this week's astrology. And this is oops, forgot to move this over there. There we go. This is for May 21st, 27th through June 1st.
That's
Yes,
beautiful.
thanks. So I think that this this is the forecast for May 27th through June 1st. This is Soulstrology forecast. And we will try to simplify it for you as much as possible. That's sort of the idea, right? um So the first thing I want to say is this past week that you've probably noticed that mental energy has gotten really loud, but hopefully it's pretty clear with Venus and Jupiter following the sun into Gemini. It's pretty much just boom, boom, boom happened last week. They all three just kind of rolled into there. Um, and as that energy comes in, I'm hoping that you can recognize the beauty and clarity of these in Gemini. Now, what I also thought was interesting is when I was thinking about this was that Jupiter represents justice. Okay, actually, Anne Ortley was talking a little bit about it, and Jupiter represents justice, and that totally makes sense because Jupiter rules Sag, and Sagittarius is actually a very integrous sign. And so with Jupiter coming into Gemini, it's going to kind of, especially even leaving Taurus, when a big planet leaves a zodiac sign and enters another zodiac sign, that energy tends to be very big. Okay. I mean, it even happens with Venus and the sun, but we see those more often. So we're more used to those. But when the bigger planets move, we tend to feel that energy a little bit more intensely. And so when Jupiter moves, it's moving out of Taurus, which is already kind of grounded, and Jupiter's been very grounded for several years now, a couple years now. I think it's 2.5 years that it's in there. And so it's kind of grounded. And so it can kind of feel like, okay. And then going into Gemini, that's very like in the brain. Okay. It's like brain starts taking off and has a million things to say, and clarity starts to happen. And hopefully we start to come up with our brains start to expand through thinking, but also to make the wrongs right. And I know that as Jupiter has moved into Gemini already, for me, wrongs have already started to be right. And I'm like, wow, okay, great. So if you're noticing that some things that were kind of wrong that you've been like, oh my God, for a long time with, and then all of a sudden there's like a release of that, you can thank Jupiter. Okay. Because this week is going to be beautiful, just blessed with one thing after another, with lots of trines. You're going to see these blue lines all over the place. That's why I tried to include that, because I think in just about most major free astrology apps, the aspect of a trine is usually represented with a blue line, and the symbol is usually a blue triangle. Okay. And so if it's a big blue triangle, like you'll see in our chart if you're watching, that's called a grand trine, and that's when 3 planets are in a trine together at the same time.
120 degrees.
They're essentially 120 degrees apart. Okay. And if you know anything about geometry, you're like, oh, okay.
120
right?
times 3 is 360. Okay, totally makes sense.
Right. Okay. And if you're like, when it comes to like math and geometry, you're kind of like, no, I failed that in college. Yeah. Okay. So it's okay. I had to have a tutor for those things. It's not my strong point, but what I can tell you, what I know about trines, is that they look like a big blue triangle on your chart in the middle. And the small little blue triangles that you can see in this chart are called a minor trine. And then if it's just a plain blue line that goes across without finishing, like here you can see blue lines, but that big triangle's not, there's not one across the bottom, but there's there's trines. Those are still trines, okay? They're still 120 degrees apart from each other. And then when there's a big blue one, that's a grand trine, and it's usually 3 points in the same element, okay? So that would be earth, air, fire, water. And so, like, if they're all earth, they tend to manifest into, so if you see a grand trine in your chart, this means that those things happen easy for you. So if it's in earth, money might come easy for you. You could have been brought up in a privileged family. There's no, I don't want to make sure that people don't get shamed for that, because it doesn't mean life is easy. It just means that maybe money was easy, but that doesn't mean life is easy. Fire, the grand trine in fire is going to be like passionate, and you're going to be able to step forward with your passions and move forward and take action and transform. And water, you're going to be a healer, right? You're going to be a spiritual, emotional healer. Like I have a grand trine in water in my natal chart, okay? And so that tends to create an ease for me to heal people emotionally, okay? And so that's usually a grand trine in water. That person's some sort of emotional or energetic healer, okay? And then in air, that's like mental, that's up here, the way you're thinking, okay? And that's going to have a lot to do with thoughts and things like that, okay? So if you have a big blue triangle in your chart and you're like, wow, Hollis, I have a grand trine, that is a huge blessing. That's your strength. It's going to happen super easy for you, even if it's just asteroids or it's with your ascendant or your MC or your IC, okay, or your DC. So all of those things are just different points on the chart, and they do count for a grand trine, okay? So I just want to say that so that you can look at your chart, and I like to promise that Rainbow Soul teaches a little bit about your chart, and that's a really important aspect, and we're going to have a lot of trines this week. So guess what? That means the week is going to happen with ease. Woo! I know I could use it. I'm sure you guys could too. So things are going to come with ease this week for you. There's going to be very few challenges, and we could probably all use a breather, frankly. And so all of these trines with Gemini, and then you can see here the lines go from up there in the top there. There's Gemini looks like the number 2. It's kind of green there in the 10th house in this chart. It's not in the 10th house for everybody, but it's in for this chart. And so you can see the sun is there and Venus is there and Jupiter are all in Gemini, okay? And those energies are it's all very positive energy, frankly. The sun shines us and shows us the way to go. It's like our flashlight through life. And Venus reminds us of the things we love and brings relationships, especially in Gemini, and probably could help increase communication in a relationship, help with understanding, and even help you network outside of maybe you've been looking to network for your business, or you've been wanting to network for other reasons or make friends. Gemini is really good at that, okay? And socializing, that's Venus in Gemini. Is just like the social butterfly, being able to socialize and understand others. And with Jupiter in there, it's bringing justice. So assuming you've done the right thing, sometimes Gemini energy can be known for doing things dishonestly, but not always, okay? And in fact, Gemini, and it's just like all other signs, everyone has their darkness, okay? And just like Taurus can sometimes not want to let things go and do things the old way, or Leos can sometimes be a little on the arrogant side, okay? Geminis can sometimes be a little on the dishonest side, okay? But not always. And a lot of times they're not, especially if they're spiritual and connected with themselves and understanding their inspiration and speaking who they really are and expressing themselves. And that's the beauty of Gemini. The beauty of Gemini is self-expression and social butterfly and networking and knowing lots of people and helping people connect and being the person that does the connection. So that's Gemini. And it also, with Jupiter there, is going to bring justice. So if there's something that you've been like, no, I've been being treated wrong. In fact, we've had a problem, a miscommunication with the IRS for years. And just as Jupiter started to approach Gemini, wham, here you go. The IRS goes, oh, our mistake. And we go, we know, we've been telling you that for 5 years. And they go, oh, our mistake. No worries, we'll take care of it. And it just like that, like, oh, we're like, what? Okay, that's Jupiter and Gemini. Something for a long time that you've been like, this is really wrong, can all of a sudden go right. Let's hope that reflects in our government matters right now. If you're paying attention to that, I'm not going to get into it deep, but yes, that could apply to that. But I do want to point out that Trumpster is a Gemini. Okay. And so, but it could, I'm hoping, okay, maybe I'm just an optimist. I also prayed for peace and it didn't happen. Okay, but look at that. So there's beautiful trines there, beautiful trines. So those are in communication with Pluto, which is all about change in Aquarius, really helping us reflect and look backwards and say, it wasn't so bad last time, or maybe I could do it differently this time. Maybe it would work if, okay. And with nurturing ourselves and making sure we take care of ourselves. And I see the moons there too, Bright Hawk in Capricorn.
That's right. And so the moon is at its last phases of Capricorn. And of course, when the moon is in Capricorn, it answers to Saturn because Saturn rules Capricorn. And it's in a lovely sextile to Capricorn, Capricorn to Pisces is the sextile. So another nice aspect. Now, the moon will go void of course at 8 p.m. just for 45 minutes. We've been seeing that most of the time, it's anywhere from half hour, 45 minutes to a few hours, except for that time on Monday last week where it was like, wow,
I took the time off.
I've ever seen it. So learning about the void of course moon is learning that it's not a great time to initiate things. It's really a chill time. It's a time to do self-care. It's a time to what needs to let go, because we're at the last phase of anything is a time to let go. And it goes from earth into air, from Capricorn into Aquarius. And Aquarius is fixed air. And of course, Capricorn is cardinal earth. So Aquarius, when the moon is in Aquarius, it answers to Uranus. And again, you have a really positive aspect because that's the trine with that stellium in Gemini at the end of Taurus. So pretty amazing right there. And then I just wanted to mention Mercury in Taurus and Venus in Gemini. We call that mutual reception, that they can talk to each other and sort of switch roles because those are their ruling houses. Venus rules Taurus, Mercury rules Gemini. And so since they're just each in that, there's a bridge that happens that can make it very smooth. And we call that mutual reception. So this week, you just have some really positive aspects.
Wouldn't you think that's going to make socializing, like social butterfly, because Mercury is like communication, Venus, relationships. Yeah, that's going to be beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. It's a great time to socialize.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Be out there, as some folks would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the most beautiful thing about this that I was looking at.
And, maybe you go to a summer graduation or a picnic or something and you run into somebody you haven't seen in ages because you have that South Node involved. And the next day it's going to get even stronger in the Grand Trine. And the South Node represents our past. So And it's Libra, which is all about relationships. So South Node in Libra, I wouldn't be surprised if you run into someone who is delighted to see you and something great comes of that. So
Yeah, especially with that South Node. Now you said that shows up in the trine. Oh, here it is.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, with the moon. I see that. Yeah, and so that just feels really beautiful, that grand trine in the sky like that with Venus. That's we're very much into relationships and socializing, establishing new relationships and seeing our vision go forward. Because of that, you can see that minor trine up there pointing to Neptune and Pisces. Neptune, it kind of looks like a three-pronged fork there. It's kind of like a blue-green color in the 8th house, and that symbol with it is Pisces. It's supposed to be two fish sort of back to back. And it's in a sextile, which is kind of half of a trine, which is just as pleasant. They say with a sextile, like a trine, everything just comes together with ease. With a sextile, it's more like the differences between those two planets that they may have will be shed. And so then therefore they will have a good conversation, or a positive aspect, a positive thing will come of it. And with Neptune and the moon conversing like that, I would imagine that that's going to bring ease for psychics. So this is a great week, this whole week actually, with Neptune in that minor trine at the tip there, because this is actually kind of a kite there. With the Neptune at the top, with the minor trine and the major trine. And so with the grand trine and the minor trine. And so with Neptune at the top there, that's going to be visionary, psychic, that's going to be religion, spirituality, and things that really, and inspiration, new ideas. Okay, especially with all that mental energy, you could come up with new ideas, new ways to do things. And with Neptune there at the tippy top, with the moon involved, that just makes, and Pluto's involved too. So any mediums or psychics, people practicing that kind of thing, you want to make sure you make time for that this week.
Yeah, the difference between a grand trine and a sextile in terms of geometry, since we brought it up today, is that a grand trine, those degrees of the triangle are 120 degrees. It's the big triangle. A sextile is the little triangle, the 90-degree.
No, 90 degrees is square. Okay.
Oh, I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah.
You're right, 60 degrees. The 60-degree. Well, of course, it'd be half, right? 120, 60. So the grand trine at 120 degrees is easy to see, and it's all air, which means, thinking about things in a new way. Maybe somebody introduces you to someone. I don't know. There's just that I like the relationship factors going on with Venus and Gemini. Now, the thing about what's happening in Gemini, we have Venus, the sun obviously already there, Jupiter's joined the party, and soon enough, Mercury will be scooching along and joining the party. Uranus, man, it moves super slow, so it's going to be there for
the rest of the year.
But what happens with all that energy in Gemini is it's very mental, it's very air, and the relationship factor with Venus there, and I love the chattiness that could happen because of the mutual reception of Venus and Mercury. So even though the moon, the only challenging aspect in this chart is a square, the moon squaring Mercury, and it doesn't last for very long. Yeah. And squares, let's remind you, squares, and of course you're right, Hollis, a square is the 90-degree angle. Squares are not bad. They're not curses. They're just crossroads. They're an opportunity to see that you have to make a decision, and you could go this way or you could go that way. But a decision must be made. And sometimes not making a decision is the decision, right? But there are consequences to those things, right? That's what a square is. It has an opportunity. You can use the word opportunity or challenge, right? So that's usually how we grow. That's usually how we learn. That's usually how we change and make a difference. So, energetically, we talk about those as requiring a little more thoughtfulness, a little more work. You might have to lean in, dig deep, whatever metaphor you want to use that way. But the fact of the matter is, this week is a lot of trines, and Tuesday is especially, with that grand trine and sextiles.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like and when the moon makes an aspect, it happens very usually pretty quick.
Right.
Because the moon's moving so quickly.
Right.
So I wouldn't even be too concerned about the square, but because there's just so much good energy that most things will just be happening with ease and without much effort from you, and things will be going smoothly, and your clarity, you'll be very clear, mentally clear this week. I can see a lot of clarity, and probably some of us could really use it, especially since like the eclipse and Uranus, Jupiter conjunction a couple of weeks ago, and anything else that might be going on for you. Clarity will be super important. Okay. And so I would say pay a lot of attention to the clarity, and notice the clarity in your mind, especially because the major planets are really speaking to each other in a good way, especially about clarity about your past, because you can see there's the Jupiter at the top there in Gemini. Remember, Gemini kind of looks like the number 2 Roman numeral, and it's going down there to Libra down there with the South Node, which kind of looks like a horseshoe, where it's like this instead. So this way is the North Node, this way is the South Node. So the South Node is very much about letting old things go and moving past old ways of thinking. Maybe you have some clarity about, man, I think I was making my problem worse because I was thinking this way, or I need to. So, whatever the clarity is, that's going to be really coming on this week, especially in relation to relationships, because it's Libra. Or take a look at your chart and see what's in Libra. Do you have anything in Libra? And do you have anything in Gemini? Because you're going to want to know. If you have planets in Gemini, you're going to want to know, because there's about to be a party in Gemini when Mercury joins over there. And you already got a little party started there. It's very positive right now. And Mercury will just come stir some things up for it. But I'm just saying that the South Node has very much to do with the past. So ghosts or people that you knew you before, people that recognize you from the past might come out of nowhere. And so just be ready for that kind of thing, but it should be all positive. It should happen with ease. Don't worry. Try to rest this week. Take care of yourself. Make sure you look at where Gemini is in your chart and where Libra is, and whatever house they're in, that's where you're going to be blessed. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, especially with that Venus Sun conjunctions being so tight. Positive time for relationships, positive light on relationships, I would say. And then, of course, the moon will be wrapping it up in Aquarius, and and when it leaves Aquarius, it goes void at 2:19 in the afternoon,
Mountain
Mountain Time, and then until midnight, until the next day, 12:30 a.m. the next day. So at that time, it enters Pisces. And when the moon is in Pisces, it answers to Neptune. And, it's going to be saying hello to Neptune very closely.
And Neptune's in Pisces, so
Yeah, Neptune's one of the planets in its rulership.
good time for psychics.
Right. The only other challenge is that the moon is going to square that stellium up there. So, first it'll be Mercury, then it'll be Uranus, then Jupiter, then the next day it'll be Venus and the sun.
Maybe to be some like emotional clearing.
Yeah. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Just by adjusting your thoughts or something, maybe you could find some clearing of emotions. Moon in Aquarius is almost kind of like very spiritual anyway. So
Yeah, I was just going to say that, we go from air and how we think to deep feelings. How do we feel about it? Pisces, of course, is the ocean of emotion, um, can be very psychic, very spiritual, um, perceptive. Uh, and then, the shadow side of Pisces can also be on the indulgent, particularly, with
usually with
alcohol,
escapist things, drugs and
yeah,
alcohol, yeah.
water, right? Drowning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the signs that are sort of known for that, about careful how much you indulge, is Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. They're sort of known for being the party animals in the zodiac, with different flavors of those three things.
That's
The
okay.
number one
Saturn's in
thing being
Pisces.
indulgent.
Saturn's not going to let any of that go down.
Could be a very tempering force. That's very true. Yeah, it's good, really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, Saturn's the party killer for sure.
Yeah, constraint. When you think
Mhm.
Saturn, think constraint, think father, think cold, as opposed to like Mars, think hot. Sometimes we talk temperatures. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And they talk about Saturn as being a malefic, which is kind of an intense word when you think of what a malefic means, versus a benefic, like Jupiter is a benefic, Venus is a benefic. So Saturn, that's one of the ways we think about Saturn. It's very constraining. It's very much about structure. It's very much about do the work, follow the rules, get it done.
Sometimes it can be good in that way.
Authoritative.
Like it
You
can kind
know,
of like, give you structure and stuff.
right?
But it's in Pisces right now, so it's very watery. So I'm just making a joke that,
Right.
if the moon moves in there, it'd be a little bit of
Just a water party. It's not.
um
It'll. Yeah.
so if you do struggle with those things where you're like, I do struggle with I want to stop drinking, or I want to stop doing this or that, ask Saturn to help you.
Oh, good.
Saturn, pray to Saturn, get some Saturn statues, put it on your altar, pray to Saturn. Um, and just ask find out where Saturn is in your chart and try to play out Saturn, because Saturn will restrict you. It will sort of like, I know my Saturn's in Cancer, so but it's up at the top of my chart, so it tends to manage my work and try to make me do, like, get your work done and da da da. That's where my Saturn comes in naturally. So your Saturn must come in naturally. And like Michael Beckwith says, if there's one part of your life working really well and another part that's not, then try to shift that energy from what's working well over to what's not. And so that's kind of what I'm suggesting, is that you find out where your Saturn is. Where do you put the rules? Where do you restrict? Where do you over discipline yourself? Because that's probably where your Saturn is. And so then you can just sort of take some of that excess Saturn energy and point it towards maybe your indulgences. Maybe you eat or smoke, or I don't know. We all have something, drink or whatever it is you do. And if you want to bring that down some and control it or manage it better, try tapping into your Saturn.
Yeah.
All right. So, and Saturn's in Pisces right now. So I feel like if you wanted this, if there was any time that you could psychically reach Saturn, it would be in Pisces or in Scorpio. And right now it's in Pisces. So, asking it to help manage your waters could be helpful. So, again, we have see if you can see that little triangle up in the corner there pointing to Neptune. It's been there all week and will continue to be there. I'm just going to say mediums are going to be hot. So if you, mediums are going to be really blessed and doing really well this week because it's pointing at Neptune. It's going to be very visionary. If you do work with spirits or the spirit world or the other side, because Pluto rules that, It's in Aquarius. So I feel like Pluto's a little bit stronger in the spirit world when it's in Aquarius. It's going to move back to Capricorn later on this year. So um, it could kind of restrict because we were just talking about Saturn, right? Okay. So, but Pluto is the connection to the other side. And with Jupiter also connected there, I find that that's really spiritually enhancing. Spiritual awakenings. If you're looking to practice or meditate or improve, now this is the week you want to be doing it for sure.
Right. Well, the moon will be void at the, come in at 12:30, void, and then it enters into Pisces. And the moon likes being in Pisces because, of course, the moon is a water sign, Cancer, and being in Pisces is very familiar. It's still going to be in a square to, now it's going to be Venus, Sun, Jupiter. And in other words, Pisces squares Gemini. And Pisces is water, squares Gemini, air. So sometimes Gemini people are very quick and not as emotional, and Pisces can be very emotional and slower. And so in that kind of a square, it can be a little bit of a conflict. Pisces could also be emotional, and so sometimes they feel like they cross boundaries to somebody who is fixed air. Is Gemini
mutable? No, it's actually it's mutable. Yeah.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. So that conversation that can be sometimes a little bit of a between the head and the heart. Gemini the head, Pisces the heart. And you have a much more powerful head with Sun, Venus, Jupiter. That's an abundance of energy versus the emotional Pisces with, it's going to, we'll come into that in a day. Never mind.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, I think that with that energy in Pisces, it's just going to light up Saturn and Neptune, and it's just going to really light that up. And that square, I think it's going to be easily overcomable because of what's going on in Gemini. And it's probably going to be like letting go of old ways of thinking, old belief systems, and old approaches to life and things like that. You're probably going to be shedding a lot of that this week, but in a good way. Like it's just going to come with ease. You're going to be like, why do I do that? I shouldn't do that. Let me do this instead. And it'd just be that easy. Okay. Especially it looks like it got even deeper there. And like this day, I'm like, are there any squares? This is such an easy day. This is Friday.
Yeah, I mean, trying. It's really quite something to see this much blue in a chart.
Wow.
Blessings.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of beautiful energy there. Just lots of blessings. You can see all the trines and sextiles. It's going to really make it easy to vision things forward, to follow your intuition this week. You want to be listening to your intuition. Don't not listen to your intuition. Be sure to listen, be sure to follow your vision, and definitely listen to your thoughts. They're not necessarily bad. Sometimes my thoughts are better than my feelings, frankly, especially if you have some trauma that you're trying to clear. Somewhere in that process, sometimes your emotions are still whatever old bullshit that you had, but your thoughts are actually more in the here and now. Like, I know that I'm not 5 years old anymore. I know that that abusive person doesn't have power over me anymore, or whatever it is. That logically, but your body is still feeling it. And I think this week that's gonna just kind of, your brain is gonna take off and pull that kind of feeling and emotion just right out of you, and you're just gonna shed it really easily.
Well, that's good because the moon then becomes very conjunct right between Saturn and Uranus, Neptune. And thankfully, it moves out of a 90-degree angle to Gemini into a 60-degree angle with Gemini, which creates a sextile. So now the whole chart is blue. And that makes the conversation or the change in thinking happen. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I just have to think of it differently.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, and like sometimes with trying to like maybe if you drink or you eat too much, I eat too much sometimes, and I know that it comes from my childhood, right? There was often not food in my home, and so one of the things that I've been doing is just a simple thing, just a simple thought change. I only need a little bit. I only need a little bit. I only need a little bit. And if you repeat that to yourself, maybe about alcohol or whatever it is, then you'll reduce your intake, which will feel better for you and you'll get more clarity. So, you don't need 6 drinks. Maybe you could just have one. I only need one. Just one is enough, right? Okay. And so, like, you could start thinking that way instead of overindulging. So, it's just a great way to clear those old habits. And we have more trines. The biggest thing we have in this moment is the opposition to the moon, but that's not going to last long, right, Braid Hawk?
No, not at all. So the moon is now in its waning crescent phase. So this is really, again, about shedding whatever needs to be let go of. That's what happens at the end of the last pieces of a sign. And so the sun will move out of Pisces and go void at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, basically, for like 35 minutes. No big deal. Take a little break, take a little afternoon walk. And it'll be coming up on the North Node. So the North Node is all about our destiny, our future. And the North Node, of course, has been hanging out, especially since the eclipses, with Chiron and Mars. So active healing. That's what I think of that. I think of Mars as the active element. And of course, Chiron, we always talk about as the wounded healer. So when the moon joins the party in Aries with those three, it could be wonderful emotional healing in a lot of different ways, and seeing your destiny and seeing what you really want and having a fire to do it, because it's all in Aries.
Yeah, action, huh? And I was just realizing that, okay, yeah, the nodes go direct on Friday and Saturday. And that's actually not that common. Most of the time the nodes are going backwards because the moon is moving forward, and the nodes are just points in relation to the moon, actually. So you can look it up more if you'd like, the North Node and the South Node. They're actually very important points in the chart. I really found them to be profound in reading natal charts. So if you happen to be a person that's trying to become a professional astrologer, I just want to say, study your nodes. Check out Judith Hill. She has some teachings about the nodes. And she's an elder and she's wise. And so take advantage of her teachings now while she's available. And so with the nodes, they usually are going backwards, right? Okay. But on Friday, they're going to turn forward. Okay. And so when they start going forward, Ann Ortley actually said that that when the nodes start going forward, there's major action that suddenly happens, major, like sometimes big things that suddenly happen that were like, oh, and it usually happens with ease. It's not hard. It's just like maybe somebody calls you and says, I really like you to do this, or something comes true, or something happens, maybe like a promotion or something like that. Any kind of whatever it was whatever gift you may need, you may find that arriving this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because the nodes are going to go forward, maybe even Monday. And the nodes are going to move forward. So all of a sudden, and whatever happens is destined. So don't gaslight it. Don't minimize it. Don't ignore it. Don't shrug it off. Whatever happens during that time, yeah, don't fight it. I've seen people sort of sabotage If you got 12th house placements, you might sabotage it. Okay. I know because I've done it. Okay. And so just when it happens, try to take that in. It's sort of like that practicing of taking a compliment, but this is kind of like taking a gift from the universe. So when the nodes go forward, you just want to, and you get something good happens to you. It could just be a really small thing, like all of a sudden, you realize how to sell such and such or how to do such and such. And you just take that energy in, and you take that energy in, and you just feel that inside of you. You feel that energy happening for you. You take it within. Okay. So when the notes go forward, you just want to take that energy in. You just want to take it in. You want to allow it to complement you. It's like the universe complimenting you. Good job. Well done. Now here's the next step in your destiny. Okay? So it literally could be like that. And it could be something like your mom apologizes. Okay? Or or all of a sudden at work someone, it just probably depends on where your north node is and what sign it's in and if there's any planets with it. Okay, so you want to look, where is north node in your chart? Okay, and are there any planets, and what sign is it in? Okay, what zodiac sign? And that will give you a flavor of what house it's in and what zodiac sign is in, is what your destiny is. And usually, whatever's given is just a small thing to help you forward on your track, on your path, sort of like someone acknowledging that, you graduated high school or something. Okay. And it's not a huge thing. It's just usually a little gift, and then they'll go reverse again, and you'll continue working towards your destiny, and then it'll happen again, and it'll be another step. So think of it as a stepping stone, as a blessing, a stone that appears in your path that makes the things a little bit easier. So it's definitely a blessing. Okay, so that's Saturday. Yeah, and you were talking about the moon in Aries. So and then on Sunday, we continue to have more of those trines, more of those blessings. We do have Saturn in a square to Venus and the Sun. So it might restrict. Sunday, you might find some sort of emotional restriction on self-expression or something like that. Maybe you're just nervous. It could be something as simple as that, especially with Saturn in Pisces. It could be about being insecure about something, or something like that. So pay attention to those insecurities, because Saturn in Pisces always makes me feel insecure when I think about it. And even think about, like, Saturn's this structure and trying to create structure, and then you throw emotions in it and water on it, and it's like, come on now, how am I going to build the sandcastle if you keep throwing water on it? Okay, and that's Saturn. So I feel like that's what happens to Saturn in Pisces, that there's some insecurities that come up that we might need to deal with. So maybe on Sunday you might be dealing with some insecurities, or insecurities of someone you're in relationship with. So acknowledge those insecurities. I find that with insecurities, it's best to just acknowledge them, figure out where they came from, maybe if there's some roots, like maybe to your childhood or something like that, or to an abusive relationship or situation. And so then just try to shift your thoughts. And you shouldn't have too much trouble doing that, because that minor trine is still there with Pluto and Neptune and Uranus. Maybe just and Jupiter, and just ask maybe Jupiter for a little bit of guidance in Gemini to help you think a little bit more clearly if you find those insecurities to be a little too strong. Because if you have a lot going on in Pisces and Gemini, that insecurity could be strong.
Right. It's good. It's good warning. Sunday, you might want to take a hike. The moon is in Aries, and it's conjunct Mars in its rulership of Aries. So the sun and the moon, moon and Mars. Moon and Mars are like powerhouse, and Mars is all about, energy, high energy, intense energy. So a good workout on Sunday could be just the thing.
Especially
But
with
be
Aries,
careful
huh?
because Chiron's in Aries as well. And, just be careful. Um, yeah.
Could be a good way to work out those insecurities.
Yeah, exactly.
Aries really loves exercise. So if you ever wondered how to be better at exercising, find out where Aries is in your chart and then try to work towards that. So Aries really loves exercise. That's our exercise king.
Yeah.
Of the chart. Okay. All right. So anything else for
the week? I think that's the week. And pretty amazing week. I would say that we all felt the intensity of the eclipses, and there's just no getting away from that. We've talked in the past about how some people feel the solar eclipse more intensely, other people feel the lunar eclipse more intensely. Sometimes you notice one, you don't even notice the other, whatever. All of that intensity, I have to say, I'm very relieved that we sort of have a more chill week. It's more trines. It feels like blessings, potential for good conversations, some real positive aspects. So I hope it's a great week. What do you think, LeKross?
Well, I found there's a lot of air energy in there. And I was thinking, because we're with the deer, rolling along or prancing along with the deer, and they kind of get shortchanged. They're really, really intelligent. And I was thinking about an interesting point that the does go out first to graze before the bucks do. And reason being is they're smart enough to know that the antlers will give off a sign to hunters and dinner. Which I just really thought that was how caution and how much they use intelligence. And I think intelligence is great, but when you go full force with it and you're not cautious and you're not careful, it could turn into something. Yeah, you're still smart, but how it's all about how it's given out, how the information is given out. And I thought it was interesting. Those void moons are really important times to stop, take a look around, make sure that you don't, because like we all like smart people, but we don't like smart asses, and somebody who thinks they know it all, that doesn't always fall well. So I think it's kind of go out, go cautious. It's a lot of air energy. So, I think take those void moons and really take advantage of them to kind of reel it in a little bit and be careful. Be careful with your thoughts, you know. So
Yeah, the last void moon, I took a break. I was so grateful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I really have to keep better track of that because I tend to forget and I'm like, go, 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 go. And I wonder sometimes those times when I'm like spinning my wheels and I'm not getting anywhere, is it really a void moon at this time? Because it doesn't feel like I'm getting anything done,
Yeah,
So,
it might be.
yeah.
That's why I started doing it. And I also found that my readings weren't as clear for me during that time. And sometimes it's not very long, 45 minutes.
Right.
But when it's a whole day, that can,
which is rare.
Yeah.
Most of the time we've watched, somewhere between anywhere from, this week, it's anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty rare that it knocks out a whole day, but boy, when it does, you want to kind of know what's going on.
Yeah.
But we took a hike that day and it was really great. So
Nice.
yeah, I highly recommend that for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to start documenting them.
Yeah.
And literally have an alarm go off on my phone saying, stop. Just stop.
Put it in your.
Some people do. Some people. Yeah.
Put in your Google Calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll know to schedule something relaxing or something during that time. Yeah, I love it. I love that. Yeah, that's interesting how the deer are so intelligent. They are really intelligent. I did know that thing about how the females come out first.
Yeah.
Because they know that the males are more hunted or more wanted or whatever.
Right.
Because they have antlers. And so yeah, so that's really interesting, with all that mental energy going on.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So my friends, I pulled 3 cards from the Pride deck, Love is Love deck. Oh, let me pin it up so you can see it if you happen to be watching. Um, and the first card is in relation to our past. This is actually a really sweet card. This is about connections. Remember, we were saying something about, connections from the past. Yeah, well, this would be connections from the past, and actually really good connections from the past. Maybe people that you've really wanted to talk to, or you have fond memories from the past. This is about like 3 queens working together and creating resources together. You can see the planets are up here along with pentacles, which are usually portals for and positive energy. And you can see these 3 queens are kind of on the cloud here, which I always look at it. I think it's transgender, but it's actually not. Um, but it's still but maybe that's how drag queens are. People often think they're trans, and they're not always. They're just not. Um, it's true. And so, with these 3 queens, I really feel that they're in their power and they're supporting each other. And that's really what this is about. So this is a relationship in the past. Be grateful for those positive connections that you've already had and how they've brought forth blessings in whatever way. Because this is the 6 of Pentacles. So it's some sort of way that it brings resources, even if it's just support energy. That's a resource too. It could be money, it could be other resources, but some sort of resourceful relationship from the past that was positive. That's pretty much what this is about. This is about past positive, great relationships coming forward. And then this card is pretty much Gemini, because this has got 2 sort of sisterly energies together, on a boat traveling with all their swords packed. This is a 6 of Swords, which is very much a travel card. So it's really speaking to those relationships that we've had and movement through water. So that could also be emotional healing, but it's also probably like literally traveling, short trips, short and long trips. And this is really about getting ready for those trips and being in that trip, or being willing to do that trip or travel, especially with sort of like a twin or a friend. Because Gemini is the twin, right? It's very much about having 2 of things. So you might find things double timing this week, and that's exactly what this is. So you might, be reunited with an old friend or a good friend or whatever that is. That's going to be happening. That's really what this is about, and in direct relation to travel. And then in the future, as you're going forward, this is the 5 of Cups. This is a really special card, because if you take a look at this person that's in the water, they're beautiful. You want to celebrate them, but they're sad in this moment because they're failing to look at the blessings, the cups that are upright in the past. See how it's behind them in the water, and the cups are upright, because they're only focusing and mourning on the cups that are in front of them. This is the 5 of Cups. This is a very common image for the 5 of Cups, where we're ignoring what is good and only focusing on the bad. And that's why this week is really important to focus on gratitude, because then that practice of gratitude, if you just spent this whole week being grateful for all the things that come with ease and easy, you would do much better. So, and that's what this is a reminder of. This 5 of Cups is always a reminder of gratitude, of being grateful for what we do have. And that's a really beautiful message that, frankly, I think is priceless. Being grateful for all the parts of us and all of our experiences. Like sometimes we get so down about things that happen that are negative, but in the end, that's what makes life rich. Okay. And so, because if everything was good all the time, you wouldn't appreciate anything. Okay. Just honestly, your life has to be good and bad. And yeah, sometimes life can feel like all bad for a while. I know my first 30 years felt that way, but now I don't feel that way at all. And I feel the exact opposite of that. So just be aware that things pass, they move, even in the bigger picture of things. Like if you're in your 30s and you're like, but my challenging, huh? And I'm like, okay, I get it. Because man, my first 30 years, holy hell. Okay. So I'm just gonna say, remember your past connections from the past. Remember the connections that you've had, especially the positive ones, the ones that brought resources in some way. Those are still very important. Relationships, they're still very important for you now, especially going forward, because it may have something to do with travel and, thoughts and thinking clearly, and seeing with clarity, getting through the emotions, working through the emotions. And it can literally mean, this card can literally mean travel or taking a trip. Okay, especially local trips. This is usually a little bit more local. There's another card that's a little bit, there's a couple other cards that are more for long distance travel. And then, of course, this going forward, a reminder to focus on what's good, focus on what has happened, what has gone well. And I know I personally could use this reminder right now of reminding that we can be delightfully surprised for the cups that are upright, right? Okay, so at least not all the cups are upside down, and that's where we can be, right? And that's what we want to say to this person. Well, of course, we want to validate them and say it sucks that all those cups filled, and I know it really hurts and it's painful, but don't forget about the good cups behind you, right? Okay, that's what we want to say to this. At least that's what I want to say to this person. And I want to give them a big hug, right? And try to help them find some comfort in what they've lost. So be gentle with yourself going forward and try to find gratitude for what is going right. Okay.
Wow.
Very good.
Interesting reading.
Thanks.
And I'm starting to really see everything astrologically.
Yeah.
So the first card's like Gemini, the second card Sagittarius, the third card, it's the 12th house
right.
of sabotage.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, but they're all kind of Gemini in a way. Yeah.
But they all sort of fit with the
Yeah. Yeah.
Why tarot and astrology is so fascinating.
Tarot is such.
We're not the only ones that go there. There's a lot of people who do, and the more we do this, the more I understand why. I'm like, wow, that's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, if you study tarot, like if you do LeKross's coloring thing, you'll notice that a lot of the cards that I have in that Love Pride deck, if you learn the Rider-Waite way, which is what LeKross has outlined in his coloring books, if you learn that first, all the other tarot decks that you come across, well, not all, but a lot of the tarot decks that you come across will make more sense, like that deck just did, right? Like the person with the 2 cups upright and 3 cups spilled in front of them. The cups represent emotions, so that's what you'll learn. And then there's a card just like that, the same exact card in the Rider-Waite is almost the same. The person is standing, I think it's like on a mountain or a hill or something, and in front of them is 3 spilled cups, and behind them is like a little creek, and on the other side of the creek is 2 upright cups, and you're like, 5 of cups, okay. And so then that's what it is it has different pictures but the same meaning. And so if you're trying to learn tarot, I don't know, do you ever notice any of that, LeKross? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do. As I've been, like when I pull myself cards every, like in the morning or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, this makes sense, preparing my day, and then I can go into that mindset for that day. But sometimes it'll give me something of what I went through the day before. And I'll be like, okay. Like if I'll see something with the swords, I'll automatically think, oh, okay, on guard? How am I on guard? Things like that. So, and also there's the interpretive. So,
Is it maybe when it gives you something from the day before, is it trying to get you to reflect on that?
Probably, yeah.
Maybe whatever.
I mean, whether I want to or not, because the first thing I'll think is, oh shoot, yesterday. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. But yeah.
Yeah, cards are interesting, and I think the more you work with the same deck, the better it works for you.
Yeah.
And I think any deck can work for anyone. All right, my friends. Well, please, if you're listening to this on Spotify, there is a poll asking for feedback, and we would love to hear from you. Just let us know what you think of the podcast if there's feedback. I know a lot of people really love the meditations and they love the learning part. So if there's anything else, or you want to you want to add your 2 cents, yeah, I love the meditations too, or I really love the fact that you try to teach a little bit, appreciate that. Whatever the things are, please let us know. Please comment. Please share. Please spread the word about our podcast. We appreciate you. We are actually growing.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's very exciting.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks for watching Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.